I like him.
I see plenty of guys right now.
There aren't that many. It's kind of amazing how it is.
I like Mitch Haniger. I like Mark Canha.
Haniger is 75 right now. He's the 75th outfielder off the board.
I like Aaron Hicks.
He's in the 75. Aaron Hicks, really?
Yep. I like.
I don't like Aaron Hicks.
David Dahl.
I mean, there are things to like about David Dahl, but you know that if you go into the baseball league with him as your fourth outfielder, there's a good chance you'll be disappointed just because of the injuries.
Yeah, that's just true. But he's out of Colorado this year, which I feel like Colorado is either really good for you if you can stay healthy in the high altitude, or the altitude affects you and you get injured. But it's a known thing.
The point being is that I have to take these earlier picks to outfield a little bit more seriously. It's like when I'm going through this, because I realize that if I'm drafting, 3, 4, my 4 or 5 outfielders I'm drafting, let's say Dahl and Sam Hilliard, right? Like I draft those guys. There's a good chance that that's going to be very disappointing. There's a chance it might be good enough,
sure.
Right? There's a chance it might be great, but there's a real chance that there's a 30% chance it could be disappointing. I got to make sure that first part of the outfield is stronger. It's like
sure.
it's like your pitching rotation. You can live with, the J Haps as SP4 or SP5, provided your SP1, SP2 is strong enough.
Yes.
So I think you have to take the outfield a little bit more seriously because at this point you get here. Well, where do we leave off? We left off at the 5th round.
I heard something. I think Mario Salazuna was one of the last players, or Randy Rosarena.
We were talking about the Biggio Grisham low grouping.
Okay.
And then after him slides in there Michael Conforto.
I feel like you've missed a name. Can I bring him up real quick before you talk about Conforto? Starling Marte. We haven't talked about him at all.
Yeah, I mentioned him, but he was just in passing. I just said Marty.
I'm sorry. I must have missed
I said something like those I think he's dull. He does
really?
his thing. I think he does his thing. He's going to steal you bases. His average is not going to hurt you very much. I don't know what else you get from him. I've always thought that he's been drafted higher than he should be. Now he's down to 50, which is about where he should have been when he was on a team that was decent. And now talking about when the Pirates were a decent team. I think the Miami Marlins are last year. It was very, very much a mirage. They're not a good team.
Interesting.
They were the team that a bunch of scrappy, plucky guys took advantage of the fact that if you could have one good month, you could make the playoffs, and that's what they were. No, they beat the playoffs too. But there's not a lot.
Marlins had a decent little team.
I just they rely too much on Marte's a real professional baseball player, and Brian Anderson's an okay third baseman, and the rest of that team is a little underwhelming.
Gotcha.
When things it doesn't get wrong, they did what they had to do. They clicked at one point, and that's all it took. I think that if we had played a 162 game season last year, they would have probably won about 70 games.
I got to tell you, so I've taken an interesting approach. The only reason I brought up Marte's name in the first place is because I've taken a different approach to fantasy baseball drafting over the last several years. I try to notice statistical anomalies or things that stick out to me where I go, that's a scarce item. And to me, stolen bases have been one of those scarce items the last few years. So that's why guys with Marte tend to have inflated draft values on draft day, just because there's so few guys anymore that are doing what they do.
Panic about stolen bases, and so the guys that'll steal you 40 bases tend to be overinflated. Hell, I did it myself last week when we talked with Jonathan Villar. It's because he's one guy where he has one human being, he can give you 3 guys stolen base totals, right? Yes. And Marte is one of those guys that can at least give you 2. And there's something said for that. But
he should steal 20 bases this year easily. He stole 10 in 60 games last year.
I've never really had a problem with stolen bases. And the other thing about it is that of all the things that you have, when you're playing in a rotisserie league, there are 2 categories that are easier to make up than any other categories, and one is stolen bases, and the other one is saves. All you have to do is trade for a stolen base guy, right? And you can often do that without it really hurting your team at all, because you wind up having like, whatever it is, you have too many home runs or you have too many strikeouts.
Trade from a position of strength. I get that.
Strength, and you pick up a closer, you pick up a guy who can steal. And those are the situations where there's a point in your league where you look at your team and go, I'm not in first place, I'm in fourth place, but I got a shot. If I get 3 points in batting average and I get whatever, but you need a couple of them to really move for you, and one of them is stolen bases. It never really bothers me that, and then the other thing is that some of the guys that are weak stolen base, good stolen base guys that are weak elsewhere, like your Elvis Andruses or whatever,
mm-hmm.
you can often trade for them cheap because
the guy or pick them up because somebody dropped them.
Yeah, and so I don't think when the stolen bases are so bad that everybody sort of sucks with them. I try to pick stolen bases much like I do average. I like to try to blend it through the whole thing. I will pick the guy that if we go through this thing, like I have a number of players like that I think will steal 10 or 11 bases higher than you normally would put them because they give you other stuff too, like Dylan Moore or Austin Meadows or God, I hate my laptop. Laptops suck. You know what I'd rather be doing this on? I'd rather be doing this on my old BlackBerry than on this laptop.
That's funny.
But look, Kyle Lewis goes later, steals some bases. Lorenzo Cain will steal some bases. Ramel Tapia will steal some bases.
I'm happy for Lo Cain to be back this year. I missed him, the fact that he didn't play last year.
Actually, I was talking about Tapia. Tapia stole 8 bases last year.
Yeah,
which means that he was on pace to get the 20 that he was talking about. Adam Eaton will steal some bases.
And do you think that with the juice,
no team will steal some bases that I always loved is Shin-Shu Chu. I'm rated number 69 on my team.
Let me ask you a question. So we basically know at this point there's going to be no DH in the National League, right? That's confirmed, 100%.
Something would have to. It's not 100%, but it's like 99.
That's what I hear. Okay, that's what I understand. That's the way they're leaning. So they're leaning that direction. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is with that and the decrease in home run distance. You say maybe they're going to decrease the ball distance 3 to 5 feet, something like that. Do you think that we may see an increase in National League small ball this year? Maybe keep teams going back to that approach of stealing bases and advancing runners, or are we just going to go up and line up and hit a 3-run job every time?
I don't think you're going. I think you're going to see this guy swing for the fences all the time. I think of the strange game of like Luis Arias, guy that I really talked about last week in second base, right? The guy doesn't swing at bad pitches. He only misses like 3% of the pitches that he swings at. Hits you 300 or whatever. Doesn't do much else with it. Or your Donovan Solanos. The guys that don't do anything else don't do anything for anybody. It's not just fancy people that don't like him. It's like literally Luis Arias, who's hit like 340 and 333 in his 2 years of playing baseball, with a 3% whiff rate. The Twins went out of their way to sign players to push him to the bench.
Interesting.
They went and got Anderson Simmons, and they went and got, it was the other guy they got. It's like,
but Anderson Simmons, he's a weapon defensively, and he makes any pitching staff better. And
don't get me wrong,
that was a smart decision as far as I'm concerned.
I don't think that the people they signed were bad players either, but it tells you something about, they look at Luis Arias and go, that's not enough.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
I like that Twins team, man. They're going to be real fucking good this year.
Well, they lost Eddie Rosario.
That's it, though. I'm okay with that.
He's their most steady player.
Over Nelson Cruz?
I guess Nelson Cruz is back. I didn't have him on this list when I made it.
Yeah, they signed him for like 1 year, $14 million or something crazy like that. Like, it was a bargain as far as I was concerned.
I think that's about what he's going to be worth. I think that this is the year that you don't go nuts on Nelson Cruz. Not that he's bad.
You think he might actually take a step back this year because he's been Mr. fucking consistent.
I'm just saying that they're what do you call it? He's being drafted in like the 4th round, and I think that's too high for somebody that doesn't play any position. And I think there's a chance that he could do something like hit like 288 with 27 home runs, which is a perfectly fine baseball season, but severely disappoint you as
God damn.
It just sort of hits you at some point. whenever somebody says somebody is super consistent, the world falls apart.
How old do you think Nelson Cruz is this year? What do you think he's playing this year at?
I think he's 49 years old, 57
He
years
is
old.
40 years old on the dot, which is nuts to me, dude. And
Yeah,
he is statistically, he had his best season at fucking age 38. And he had arguably had a really, really good season last year. If you extrapolate what he did over the course of 60 games, it would have been outstanding. But I mean, if you just look at his numbers, man, they're out of this world. And I just don't see him slowing down. I see no signs of it.
Look up Adam Dunn. Adam
Love
Dunn
Adam.
hit like 40 home runs, 39 home runs, 40 home runs, and then 1 year just ended.
I remember Adam Dunn. I used to love Adam Dunn. I drafted him every fucking
You know,
year. I'm surprised that he hasn't gotten in the Hall of
Do you
Fame.
remember what they said about Chris Davis?
462 homers, baby.
Chris Davis
Woo!
what?
I love Adam Dunn.
Yeah,
No, Adam Dunn had a slower decline, dude, than Nelson Cruz had. Adam Dunn hit 41 homers his last year in the league. I'm sorry, at age 32.
He was significantly declined at 32. He was significantly declined at 29.
But then he hit 34, then he hit 22, then he hit 20.
Home runs before, those last 3 or 4 years, he hit home runs. He was a joke outside of when he hit those home runs.
I get it. He hit 204, he hit 159. I get it.
You know, just because he hit 40 home runs doesn't mean he was good.
I get it. His last productive year where you looked at him as like
James Winston passed for 5,000 yards, and then they had to get.
He also threw 30 interceptions though. That's not
the problem with Adam Dunn. It's like
it doesn't hit for batting average.
Adam hit 40 home runs, but he only got on base another 20 times.
I mean, dude, he had a career on base of 364. That's pretty impressive considering that his batting average was 237 for his career. That's a pretty big split to where he was like the first of the guys of this generation in terms of first baseman, a 3-2 outcome guy. He was before his time. He was.
I think it was something like less than 20% of the times that Adam Dunn came up, the ball was put in play.
Dude, how many career strikeouts do you think Adam Dunn had in 14 years playing? The fucking numbers is insane. How many do you just give me a number? In 14 years. 14 years.
So the maximum cap would be 2,800 every 200 years. It can't be that high, but it's not that far off of that. So I'm going to say 2,270.
You were close, dude. 2,379. You were off by less than 100. That's insanity.
Yeah, he struck out a lot. No, I love the player too, but I'm just saying,
nuts.
Dude,
I used to love Adam Dunn.
Like Nelson Cruz could very well be that. He could hit 39 home runs.
I just don't see it. I don't see it
average
happening.
drop. But it just
His
sort of
eye is too dialed right now.
How consistent did we think Chris Davis was? Then it just disappeared in a year.
Which Chris Davis? K-Riss Davis or C-Riss Davis?
Either or. But K-Riss more often.
They're a completely different player. All right, Chris Davis was a consistent 247 guys for 4 years in a row. He doesn't make the kind of contact that Nelson Cruz makes in the ball. The guy's been a 300 hitter the last 2 years in a row with close to a 400 on base. And with power. I just don't see him dropping out this year.
I just can't. It's like I can't draft him where he's being drafted.
I would need to see the decline first. To me, I need to see proof is in the pudding for me. I can't just look at someone and go, yeah, they're going to suck this year. No, especially when I look at the numbers and go, they're not going to suck. There's nothing. Number doesn't tell me a story that they're going to suck this year.
If you look at his if you look at his exit velocity, it's been dipping a little bit every year. Hold on.
I'm gonna dig in. Now you got me curious.
You know, there's like this could be the Nelson Cruz show. There are subtle things that are there. Well, let's see here. Let's see what my guys write about.
Well, go ahead, pull your thing because I'm curious now. I'm about to pull some expected stats and I'm going to look at some things and let's look at some advanced stats.
What team is he on? Twins, right? That should be here somewhere now.
Yeah, he's in Twins.
No, I know he's in Twins. It's better. Like when you go through an encyclopedia, this is not in alphabetical order. It's ordered by division, and then once you're in division, we don't know what the hell is going on here. Let's see what these guys. I don't think I read up on him because I haven't gotten those DHs. So I didn't know what we'd do about it. There's a handful of DHs.
I mean, dude, he's had arguably two of his best seasons of his career the last 2 years. If you just look at weighted runs created plus, which is an ultimate saver metric
for good years after 40.
Dude, Nelson Cruz, the steroid effect. When you do steroids, it makes your body a certain way. Once you quit doing them, they still have the effects of them. And the guy popped for steroids, 6 years ago, 7 years ago?
BP rates. They actually rates something pretty simple. He slugged above 500 for the 8th year running, was on pace for another 40 home run season last year.
Yep.
Despite the monster year, you can squint and see the faintest signs of decline. His average exit velocity dropped using StatCast metrics, Both his batting average and slugging percentage were higher than expected based on the quality of his contact. Still,